Hello, it's Will and Nathan here from Ripon City Wargamers. Nathan's just plotting his army for this Batrep. It's going to be 1,000 points. It's a practice game for the upcoming Ripon tournament for myself. Nathan's going to have the privilege of being the TO. There's a couple of special rules at this tournament. So it's 1,000 points. There's a monster cap. So for every 10 models you take, your 11th may be a monster. It's warbands of 24 instead of 12 per hero. And every army gets an old profile Alfred. So he works as the old one did before the Tabla rulebook. He also has a war horn as part of his gear. And in every scenario, you get a VP for killing your enemy's Alfred, and you gain a VP for keeping yours at the end of the game. So the Alfreds on the table are worth 2 VPs. We haven't rolled for scenario yet, but the scenarios we're going to be using are the ones from the GT, so they're the sort of new standardised 6. Let's go in and look at the armies now. Okay, so first of all, we're looking at my army. It's almost completely painted. The only thing sorry, I've just been distracted by Nathan putting another monster down into his list. We'll look at that shortly. So my list is quite simple. It's 2 dwarf captains with spear and shield with 40, yes, you heard it right, 40 Iron Hills dwarves with spear and shield, one of which has a banner. And then in the back rank, we have 2 siege captains with 2 dwarven Iron Hills ballistae. And this little chappy here with the shield is going to be my leader. He doesn't actually have a shield. I've had to look at the rules for them a little bit closer, and actually they take on a normal cruise profile. But until it's clarified otherwise, I'm assuming they do still get the tactical awareness because they're an Iron Hills captain. I think that's how it's going to work. I think that's what Nathan's decided for this tournament, thinking logically. So he's only defense 6, and he's only got 1 attack and all of that, but I think he would still get the tactical awareness. Not that it would be any real use, because if something's within 6 inches of him, I've probably cocked up massively. And right in the middle, we have Dwalfrida. So what I've done here for my conversion for this tournament is I've got the Alfred model from the Warhammer World exclusive, and I've chopped him down to size, and I've put a lovely ginger beard on her, because it's dwarfs that go swimming with little hairy women. And we will go over and have a look at Nathan's army now.
Hi guys, onto my list. So my leader, I've got Gothmog on Warg with shield, and he is leading 24 Morannons, front line just with shield, back line with spear and shield, and then just a banner in there as well. We've got 2 Castellans without Morgul blades. We've got my Alfred, which is just Gorbag in this scenario. I'm throwing in a shade, yes, you heard right. Gulliver, we've got, I forgot his name. Birder.
You can't forget Birder.
You can't. And then just a captain with 14 dudes.
Okay, so we've just rolled for scenario, and Nathan is significantly happier than I am, because we've just rolled for Ages of Heirlooms Past, which means my ballistas are probably going to die, sort of turn 1. We'll come back after we've deployed. Okay, so here we are after deployment. I think we both sort of got what we wanted. I think Nathan might agree. Nathan won priority, which was good news for me, but then we both rolled reasonably well. So all of Nathan's army has come on 1 board edge, and there's a fairly horrendous looking horde line there. And with my the Iron Hill special rule, I managed to sort of modify mine quite nicely. So I've got a block of dwarves on that board edge. I've got my artillery battery there, and I've got my second lot here. So that's sort of how we're looking. We've got a little bit of distance between us, but obviously that won't matter at all if someone picks up a prize. We will come back after movement phase. Okay, so here we are after the first turn of movement. The Orcs have come rampaging up, and they've searched for 2 prizes, but so far failed to pick it up. However, the middle ground is closing fast, and the Dwarfs are coming up to meet them with a couple of prizes still inbound. There was no real dramas this turn, apart from the fact that Birder has decided to infiltrate right next to my leader's ballista, which isn't good. So I'm just going to have to pray for a very, very good only turn of shooting. We'll come back after. Okay, a relatively poor round of shooting, depending on what side of the fence you're on. The shade is dead. That was quite nice, but it did cost all of my general's might, including the stuff that he gained from Alfred. The other one did hit at the point of a might, but scattered off Gulliver and took 2 fate off a Castellan, which still isn't ideal. But I do anticipate that my general is probably going to die next turn, so we'll come back after movement. And after the next movement phase, the orcs have spread out somewhat and are rampaging across the board. I riskily went for the 2 objectives down here, and neither of them were the objective, which leaves just these 2 here, which is leaving the orcs in a very strong position, unfortunately, but there's not a lot I can do about it. And one dwarf has took it for the team and has charged Berda to allow me to shoot at least once more with both ballistas. But it's fairly safe to say that I'm going to need a miracle to get something else down before the combat start. And yeah, it didn't work, unfortunately. The first dwarf ballista rolled a 1 to hit, then re-rolled and missed. And then the second ballista with no might hit Gulliver, got a direct hit, and then rolled a 1 to wound. So Gulliver is absolutely fine. Less than ideal. We're now going to go into the only combat, and I think we will film this live because I think Nathan's going to have a bit of fun. Any heroics, or are you just going to splat him and laugh?
Yeah, why not?
Cool. I will feint for what it's worth. It is a 1 from the dwarf.
Free.
Yeah.
Take it.
And what are you going to do?
I'm just going to go hill. Yeah.
Yep, so you're going to hurl him. You'll get over everyone.
Many inches away.
Yep. So, just roll your dice because you're going to kill him. So 2 strength 6s, needing 4s. That kills him.
Got him.
The guy in front of my leader needing 6s. Nope. My leader himself needing 6s.
Yeah.
Wounds my leader. Fate point.
Out of might.
Down to 1 wound. And the last crew member. No. So this is going terribly. We'll come back after the next movement phase. At last the dwarves have had a smidgen of luck. Gulliver had to stand up, which meant he couldn't go for the prize that turn. And this orc went for the prize here and failed to collect it. So this prize became the automatic one, and so the dwarfs have formed a rolling retreat. While the left flank with the banner have started to push up, and so we're sort of trying to reform the line as such before the combat gets any heavier. This ballista's still intact and with crew. And Berda skipped over a dwarf like he was absolutely nothing and has charged my leader and another on the floor. The man that he skipped over took particular offence to it and stood up and charged him. It's still not looking very hopeful over that side. I'm still waiting for a decent ballista hit. We'll come back after combats. The dwarf ballistas have done something successful. It was a fairly good roll actually. I decided that the shot for Gulliver, would be the best case scenario. Obviously, I'd need a 6 to get a direct hit to even stand a chance. Because if not, Nathan would very cleverly just pass it on to a Castellan who can tank it. Good tactics, Nathan. I thought about the banner and Gothmog, but again, he can just pass it on to some orcs at the back. So I went for a blob of orcs here, which gave me the best chance. So I've killed 3 and knocked 2 prone, which is, just chipping away a little bit. Again, it's not ideal, but it'll do for now. So I'm just going to get pulverised by Berda, and then we'll come back at the end of the move phase. And Berda, the infiltrator, has done it. He has wiped out that ballista crew. I'm sure the ballista will go next, and he has also slain my leader. So in a 1,000-point game, if you've got 110 points on Berda, just to go and have him suiciding in like that, I mean, it wouldn't have been a massive loss if you lost him, I don't think. No. But to do that, I think you're pretty happy, aren't you? So we'll come back after movement phase. And here we're after movement. So Gulliver is flanking particularly well. He's making me really have to watch where I put these guys. Fortunately, I keep losing priorities and Nathan's not getting the chance to jump on me just yet. He keeps placing the Castellan within 3 inches, so it's limiting Gulliver's movement a bit, but it just means Gulliver's not going to go down to the ballista unless I get particularly lucky. Nathan, obviously winning priority, managed to get a couple of guys in on the flank, so I've counter-charged to make the best out of a bad situation. Try and sort of free up some of my movement space again. The rest of the line is holding firm, and the man with the prize plus a captain is just sitting behind the lines. The captain is within 12 of Gulliver for next turn, but it's whether Nathan will risk throwing Gulliver in. Gothmog is poised to charge in. I believe he's still got 4 might, is he?
Yeah.
So Gothmog's sitting pretty, and these orcs have just put a sort of rolling retreat on to keep some form of a line, and these dwarfs are just pressing up hell for leather. Dwarf Frida is running away from Mordor because I don't want to give a VP away so easily. And this dwarf ballista is still intact and ready to shoot. We've done a bit of measuring. Mordor is within 6, but because of his base size to get actually around the building, he's 2 movement turns away from charging. So I'm not going to try and flee because he'll catch me, but I can get 2 more shots off. Hopefully some form of use will come from that. So we're getting to a very important part of the game because the dwarfs are about to be hit very hard. So hopefully I can come out of it alive. So another round of shooting. It looks positive, but I've just realised I made a massive tactical error. I went for the banner and it scattered, and I killed 1 orc and knocked a couple over. But I completely forgot that I was intending to shoot Mordor while I had 1 chance to get him, and it would have wounded him, which is really frustrating. So that's not good at all. We're going to go to the combats now. And the trap is well and truly sprung. After we bounced off each other in the last turn of combat, Nathan won priority again and has just gone for it. So right on the very edge, we've got Gothmog and an orc captain against 1 dwarf. Gulliver's come in and we've counter-charged. The man with the prize is running away, but it's not looking great. And then the lines have very much clashed. Nathan refused this flank, and so I've only managed to get a couple of dwarves in, and this warband is just sort of boshing up behind. And realising that I no longer have a decent target, all 3 crew have successfully managed to charge and trap Mordor, but he's still got 3 might in his pocket. So again, I'm not holding out much hope there. So we're going to go into the combat phase now. Okay, so that was a very interesting one. A couple of heroic combats were called on Nathan's side. Gulliver got an awesome hurl off, but I got quite lucky and won all the fights, well, the majority of the fights to stand back up. Managed to punish a little bit and kill a couple of Morannons. I think Nathan's just going to sort his pile of dead out now. And this side kind of bounced off a little bit, which isn't really how we want things. The captain won the fight against Gothmog, but then failed to even kill his warg, which isn't ideal. Currently, the prize is still mine. Currently. Mordor, the poor little mite, had to spend a single point of might to win the fight and then just effortlessly killed 3 dwarfs like it was absolutely nothing. So it's fairly healthily Nathan's game at the moment, but I'm hoping the dwarfs are going to start to roll some better dice. We'll come back after movement phase. Okay, so 1 brave dwarf managed to stop the heroic combat by essentially not dying. The battle lines basically just bounced off each other. There wasn't a massive amount of damage inflicted, but there is a nice Gulliver-shaped hole there. MVP of this turn does actually go to this little engineer captain who managed to not die to Mordor as well, so that's quite nice. We'll come back after this turn's movement phase. With the dwarfs winning priority, I managed to have my pick of the charges. So the captain has gone into some dudes to try and get away from the castellan. The brave dwarf warrior has stood up and charged all of the people who tried to kill him last turn because he's furious about it. And the lines have clashed and it's looking pretty grisly. The dwarfs are still rolling retreating, with Dwarf Frida having caught up with her companions. We will come back after the combat phase. Okay, as seems to be the tale of the game, the fights that I'm supposed to win and kill aren't working, and then the ones where I'm not supposed to win and kill are working, and the same in Nathan's favour as well. Both sides are starting to whittle down. I am very close to broken, and Mordor is now free to come and start contributing to the game a little bit more. Gothmog and his friends managed to kill that plucky little dwarf, so Gothmog is now also free. We'll come back after movement phase. And as play is drawing to its end, Gothmog won the heroic move off with his tasty Master of Battle and is just trying to inflict as much damage as he can. I've had a little bit of flanking action with the dwarves, but the orcs, while dwindling in number, are still keeping up a consistent kill tally. Berda is well within threat range, and so I've sent 2 dwarves his way to play speed bump. Meanwhile, Dwarf Reader, the Captain, the Banner, and the Relic Carrier are trying to get away as quickly as possible. We'll come back after combats. Okay, so we've decided to call it quits there. It's very, very close, but we think we know how it's going to go, and it's getting a bit late now. So the final score is 8-5 on the basis that I have the prize. We both have a banner. Both the Alfreds are untouched. My leader's dead, Nathan's isn't, and we're both broken. If the game was to carry on, I think I'd still win, but Nathan would have massively picked up on the points and it would have been a lot closer. Very much Nathan deserved to win that, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Played very well. The Castellans were put in the right place to stop Gulliver from being killed. I think it's fair to say my dice were fairly unlucky with the ballistas, and then Berda just walking on behind and eliminating them is worst case scenario. But I mean, this is the bogey scenario for me because Maelstrom. The Morannons went man for man with the dwarfs. If the Shade had made it to combat, it wouldn't have even been a contest. The only tips I'd have for Nathan would be to save one of the objectives, and then you have the kind of trade-off at the end and it becomes a fight. If you haven't already picked it up, obviously Nathan kind of went all in and went for all of them, which eventually left the prize to me. Other than that, it was spot on. It was a ballsy move with Gulliver to try and just go for the prize and then win the roll-off to get away, but unfortunately it didn't quite work out. But yeah, unfortunately it went to me because Nathan far outplayed me there, and I just tried not to die for the majority of it. So thanks very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and there's probably going to be quite a few more pre-Rip and Batrep with some interesting armies. Thanks very much for watching.